Hello and welcome to another Betfred Sports video right here in the Quest Media Network studio. Peter, firstly, let's reflect on England's 1-0 victory against Romania on Sunday afternoon. It wasn't really convincing and, realistically, they don't look too strong, do they, at the moment?
No, they don't. They are favourites with Betfred to win the tournament outright. But the form going into it it's been solid rather than spectacular. I mean, they've beaten the teams put in front of them. They haven't had some of the better players, i.e. the City players, available yet because they've only just joined the camp over the weekend. So it is something of a scratch team.
Yeah.
In the first match against Austria, for instance, they had players who are going to be thrown out of the squad anyway. So they performed very well as it happened, but they're hardly going to bust a gut if they're not going to play in the tournament.
Absolutely.
It was Rashford who scored the penalty on Sunday. And then Henderson decided, for whatever reason, to take a penalty. If he had scored it with his first goal ever for England, and he missed. That hasn't gone down well with the manager because this is a professional organisation. It's representing our country, and you don't start putting sentiment like that ahead of winning the game 2-0.
I mean, you say it's not gone down well with the manager, but if you're Southgate and you see Henderson stepping up to take it, surely you're shouting onto the pitch saying, "What are you doing?" That's part of a manager's role, surely.
Well, it is, and it's also it was predetermined before then who would take the penalty. So that it had all been arranged. What would happen if somebody was injured, and he did this and he did that, and it wasn't an odd thing to happen. That, and Henderson should be aware that he's got Declan Rice who's ahead of him at the moment, possibly because of Henderson's injury that I mentioned before. But Declan Rice is the main man for that holding midfield position. But it is highly, highly competitive to get into that team. And one player who has come through and done brilliantly in these two friendlies, warm-up games, has been Jack Grealish.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a real jack in the box. He's got an edge to him, a little bit of arrogance, a bit of a swagger about him. He reminds me so much of Paul Gascoigne.
Yeah.
He's the X factor in that England team. If I was Southgate, he'd be first on my list. To an extent, he'd be ahead of Mason Mount and Foden, superb players that they are. But Grealish is the one who could make things happen. He does things that no one expects. He's like a street footballer who isn't groomed in the way that the academy youngsters are.
Yeah.
He does things that you unprecedented skills that he has, and you can well see why, for me, he should be number one target for Manchester United because he has got the X factor. I
mean, this competition, if he does shine, and I know you've got some odds on Grealish to be playing with the tournament. I mean, he's gone from 40-1 to 25-1.
Yeah, he's the biggest mover, Mark. He's the biggest mover. He's gone, as you say, he's gone from 4. When those odds were first set, he was on the fringe of the team. He wasn't necessarily a starter. I'd say he's a starter, and if he's not a starter, he's on the bench to come straight on if it's not working out. And he's gone to 25-1. I mean, the Betfred odds on the actual player of the tournament is Mbappe is the favourite. He's 9-1. Kevin De Bruyne was 10-1. Well, there's a question mark about whether he'll actually play now.
Yeah.
Ronaldo's 12-1. The other English players, Harry Kane is 16-1, Paul Pogba 20-1, and if England are not going to win it, you'd expect them to now. I mean, it's 1966 since we last won an international tournament. It's absolutely pathetic.
Yeah, it is. With the players we've had.
The players we've had over the years, this group have got the potential to do it. But how many times have we been saying that? 3, 4, 5 times. We had the Lampard, Gerrard, we had the Rooney, we had his Pomp, we had Beckham, we had superb team, Scholes as well. I remember when Pele said that he thought that Nicky Butt was the best player in the world, and everyone was like a bit surprised. I mean, a good player, obviously Nicky Butt, But what he really meant was Paul Scholes.
Yep.
He got the ginger nose
Ginger's
mixed up.
wrong. I mean,
I remember that one.
it's crazy, isn't it, though? Like you said then, England haven't won anything for so long now. They've got so much potential. I mean, I think this squad's got a lot of potential, but they played Austria and Romania, won both, not convincingly, but they open Euro 2020 with a game against Croatia at Wembley this Sunday. It's going to be a whole different kettle of fish, isn't it?
Well, it is, and you'll have to bring in players from City, for instance, in particular, who haven't actually done any friendlies and haven't played since the Champions League final. So there's a bit of an issue there. He may stick a little bit more with the ones he's got and bring on the likes of Foden later in the game. England are 5-1 favourites with Betfred to win the tournament outright, but you mustn't rule out France ever. They're 5-1, and not only is it Mbappe, Griezmann, Pogba, they've got some superb players. They always seem to do well in this particular tournament. Belgium 6-1, Germany 15-2, Portugal 8-1, along with Spain. I mean, there's some good teams in there. Italy, a lot of people are their dark horse, 11-1, and same as the Netherlands, they're 11-1 as well. The most popular bet for name the finalists is predictably England against France, which looks good value at 14-1. But for that to happen, they've obviously got to keep winning the groups. Yeah. Wales, I think they'll get out of the group, but they're 125-1 to win the tournament outright. So that's obviously long odds. Scotland even worse, 250-1.
I mean, Wales at the last Euro did fantastically well, didn't they? Do you think they could replicate that in this tournament, or do you think they're too weak of a squad?
I think last time they had top players such as Ramsey and Bale at the top of the game. They're not at the top of the game now, so leave it at that.
That's simple. Yep. Well, we do know that England will be opening their Euro 2020 account against Croatia at Wembley this Sunday. And another fixture taking place at Wembley on July 17th is the Challenge Cup final. It's going to be St Helens taking on Castleford. Peter, got all the ingredients to be a cracker, but tell us how it came about.
Well, it was the semi-finals at Leeds Sports Village on Saturday afternoon. Saints beat Hull. And Castleford surprisingly beat Warrington, so that sets up the final between Saints and Castleford. There was lots and lots of controversy in the Saints match, which surrounds an incident involving Josh Griffin when he was coming forward with the ball for Hull, and he snapped his Achilles tendon, which is, I've actually had that injury and it is horrendous. You feel like your leg's falling off. Anyway, he just collapsed in a heap and dropped the ball, and Theo Farge from Saints picked it up and ran over. Now, in that split second, he probably thought, oh, the ball's just spilled or whatever, or he drops it for whatever reason, not with such a terrible injury, and scored the try. Some pundits on the BBC were saying, well, they should have let him have a free run in for a try, and then it's been debated hotly by the so-called experts, including, I guess, me. I'm doing it now. But you've got to think what would happen if they disallowed the try, because players are trained to play to the whistle. That could have opened up the situation in the future where a player could feign injury, and then how would they establish whether he really ripped his tendon, for instance, or whatever the injury was. So then it's the medics making the decision on whether it's a try or not. So anyway, they allowed the try. As it happened, Hull came flying back into that game. They did tremendously well. They put Saints under great pressure. But then it was Regan Grace to the great winger, one of the fastest players on the planet, who picks up the ball and did this breakaway try for, must have been 90 metres, and that broke Hull's hearts, and it was game over. And that, predictably enough, introduced lots of headlines about Amazing Grace.
There we go.
We knew that would go
sharper than me.
And Saints are now 4-11 to odds on to win the Challenge Cup on July the 19th, as you say. Castleford are 2-1.
Brilliant stuff. Well, it's been great having you in the studio once again, Peter. And if you are watching Sports Talk, Betfred stores are now open, but you can also bet online and via their app.